Thank you very much, and happy to see that there's so many people joining and listening at this presentation. What I'm going to tell you today about is a short introduction to regenerative tourism and what it actually means. Um, I will start with telling a few words about my background and how I ended up looking these topics in more detail. I'm currently working as an associate professor here at the University of Eastern Finland Business School. And I have been working at the university, well, since 2006. And in the meantime, also spent a few years in the Natural Resources Institute Finland, but then got back to the university. And also the whole working career that I have had has been related to nature-based tourism or well-being tourism or combination of those both. And I would say that I'm still quite interested in on these aspects. So looking role of individuals and also entrepreneurs, tourism businesses, representatives, and what is their role in maintaining their operational environment and what kind of experiences we can provide for the customers and to be meaningful and also probably transformative for them. So these pictures basically tell that I try to practice what I preach. This is my main interests and activities. And also I've been trying to look these matters together with my research colleagues. So we also have published a book, recently a book about tourism and well-being. And in this part also, there were regenerative and transformative aspects of tourism discussed quite a lot. So as I said, my personal interests are basically in nature-based tourism business, transformative and regenerative tourism, and also the role of tourism sector in maintaining its operational environment, especially when we are talking about nature-based tourism. But the reason partly that why I'm here talking to you is that we are currently having a regenerative nature tourism project together with Finnish and Swedish partners. And this project is funded by the Introduktion Aurora. And within this one, we have main goals that are listed now in these slides. So the aim is to develop and widen the entrepreneurial network with accessibility and regenerative principles, and also support collaboration with the entrepreneurs and also increase knowledge and well-being of the entrepreneurs. This part also includes different kind of educational aspects. So building also training programs to how to develop tourism services towards more transformative and regenerative direction. And also how to start promoting those kinds of tourism products and services. And also from other perspective, we are also looking at the evaluation of the impacts of the project activities, looking for what kind of attitudinal changes there might have been amongst customers and entrepreneurs while they are developing their regenerative tourism perspectives during the project. But also, as we are talking about regenerative tourism, also looking at the impact on well-being on the local communities. So as you see, there are quite a lot of different topics within this, and I'm going to go more detailed about the content of these concepts that I have been mentioning now. So when we are talking about the regenerative tourism, well, this is a bit philosophical approach to that, but quite often what we are looking, for example, now the tourism literature and the research, that it has more emerged as this kind of paradigm in tourism studies. So there are a lot of research that are looking what it actually means and what it comes from. I think its originally comes more on the agricultural perspective to how to enhance and maintain or improve the land within the area to make it possible to continue with the activity and the industry in the future too. So in this perspective, the aim is more to get net positive effects for human societies and ecosystems. So quite often we are talking about the nature that it's in the core of all the activities. And this is then also more linked to a discussion that it should be more taking this kind of next step or taking the sustainable tourism to the next level. So, and also it would include emphasizing this more conscious way of traveling and bring more conscious way to provide experiences also for the travelers. But what actually the next level means is that instead of what we have been known when we're talking about sustainable tourism, is that the goal is to minimize the negative effect of tourism or aiming to the zero effect. But in the regenerative aspect, the purpose is to positively influence and benefit the host area where the tourism is taking place. So it links to how to enhance the environment and how to support the local culture and communities within the destination. So trying to make tourism better in that sense. And it also aims to this kind of long-term renewal. So not just talking about 2 or 5 years for now, but also making it this kind of long-term benefits that also some of these issues might even be visible after 10 years. For example, certain activities that have been conducted in the destination level that can be actually seen that there will be this kind of renewal in the future that would then also eventually benefit the destination in more wider sense. So basically increasing the capacity of places, communities, and also the guests that are visiting the destinations. And quite often you can see concepts like healing or reinvesting and recovery related to the regenerative activities. Also that in tourism practices, this regenerative is more seen as a process and not some kind of end stage, so something that is also taking place all the time and evolving all the time. And as I mentioned, that in this regenerative thinking or regenerative tourism, the connection to a place has a central role. So it's also about acknowledging that we as a human being are part of the living system as well as the tourism, and it's interconnected for everything that is happening around us. So quite often that these activities that take place, they build on the aspects that, of course, we need to have a living destination to be able to flourish and feel well with all of the participants and stakeholders in the destination. So it requires both the well-being of the environment, well-being of the community, but also then how to get the social and economical benefits then based on that. So having the idea, so when these living systems are well, it also enables tourism to develop and thrive. And I think that this is something that we have been seeing in many cases now when we are looking at the global warming and the things that it has impacted, for example, the destinations in Southern Europe, for example, with the heat and everything. So quite often some of these aspects are that when, for example, your main attraction has been on natural sites, but those sites are basically dying due to the high heat and so on. But what are the things that we can do to also maintain this environment in a way that it would support the local people, but also that enables the tourism income industry to be there also at the same time. So in highlighting the mutual benefits and well-being outcomes. So what it actually also means that it has different collaboration and actions of the individuals. So quite often in this case, no one can do anything by themselves, but quite often it happens in the networks, and also that when we are saying that it's happening within a place or within a destination, but we need to see that also that regenerative tourism actually actualizes with the individuals and their actions. So it can be the tourist, it can be the tourism businesses that take certain steps towards that direction. So are we actually talking about the form of tourism or what we are talking about? Because quite often, at least in Finland, we have had a lot of discussions. So, okay, can I now market my products as a regenerative tourism products, or what we are actually now talking about? But quite often when we are talking about regenerative tourism, it's instead of having certain tourism type, it's more this kind of seen a mindset or this kind of inner sustainability. So it links more to the worldviews, attitudes, and values, and trying to bring this kind of transformational approach to people. And I think this is also linked to quite a lot when we or associated with the worldviews and mindsets of indigenous people. So how they work together with the nature, what is the connection with the nature, and how certain activities are taking place. Okay, having said that, to going probably on a more practical level then. So what it actually then means. So when we are talking about the regenerative tourism, it's normally, as we were talking about the mindset. So it starts quite often with the sustainability dimensions that we are all aware of. So we are talking about ecological sustainability, sociocultural sustainability, and economical sustainability. And these are basically the starting point as we were thinking about. But in addition to, making no harm, then starting to think how certain activities that customer can take, but also the businesses can take, and within their provided services can support it in a way that it could have certain components that would support the activity, the tourism activities towards the more generative direction. So it doesn't mean that we necessarily need to label the product as a regenerative tourism experience, but we can say that the certain products have components that support the regenerative tourism within the destination. So quite often it means that different tourism products and services are embedded certain components that would have this kind of impacts and effects. And just what is important is to start to thinking that within the business activities, how to provide that type of services or what would be those components within the business operation that would support the regenerative tourism as such and provide certain kind of experiences for the customers where they can also be involved with that kind of activity and hopefully eventually through customers' own reflection process might also impact on the customer mindset to also start more this kind of meaningful and conscious way of traveling, and also that in later on would also make them to travel more to that kind of destinations. So the idea is also to provide meanings of the places for the people. So how to enhance and connect certain aspects of the product so the customers would also have this kind of sense of place and a feeling that place is meaningful for them and they are more willing to contribute on that while they are traveling. This regenerative tourism is also discussed quite a lot with the role of an individual and also in terms of transformative tourism. And the transformative tourism is a form of tourism that focuses on the transformation processes of individual, meaning that, for example, when a customer is traveling somewhere, they got that kind of meaningful experiences that may change their life even though they go back home. And these changes might be related to their own well-being, or they can be also linked to having more pro-environmental values and so on later on. So it can be this kind of retreats, it can be certain types of altruistic activities and so on. But first of all, the idea is that through this transformative tourism, the focus is the change that happens in the individual. But when we are looking at the regenerative tourism, it naturally is basically a bit like this different side of the same coin. So in that, the more focus is put on the environment or to the community instead of having the transformation in the individual. even though both of these are actually supporting each other. So quite often now, if you are seeing regenerative tourism and transformative tourism, you can also see that they are sometimes talked interchangeably, but quite often this kind of transformative tourism, especially here in Finland, is now quite a big thing, and we also have received a lot of, for example, Business Finland funding for developing that kind of tourism products and services. And this is quite interesting thing because these both are seen to support each other. Okay, but then give you a few examples about what examples we have for the regenerative tourism experiences, or that can actually involve these regenerative elements. So quite often we have, for example, in Finland, certain products and services that are focusing on restoring natural environments. We can talk about different biotopes, meadows, peatlands, and so on. Or, for example, hiking routes in certain destinations that are not necessarily provided or supported by the government or the local municipalities. It can be also supporting about the biodiversity in that way, that building together insect hotels or bird houses. So that would be one activities that are then put in the destination or in the businesses that would then, support the activity together with the customers. Also reducing non-native or invasive species. For example, in Finland, we have the lupin quite strongly, but it can be also, I know that there is one product in Finnish archipelago area that they are actually hunting invasive species. Sorry, I do not remember what is the name of the animal in English, but basically they are building hunting tours around reducing this non-native or invasive species. And then later on, they are actually selling the meat in their restaurants to other customers later on. Also, in Finland, I think this is quite a unique case. We also have customers to support actually to endangered species. So this is we have had now products that making snow nests for the endangered Saimaa ring seal, but also that there are these different kind of so-called shepherd holidays, for example, cow camps. This is my kid when we were visiting this farm. So basically taking care of the cows when they are also taking care of the landscape is something that is taking place, or it can be feeding the animals and learning their habits and what is the traditional way of doing things, for example, in the small farms and so on, and what is actually the health benefit also that having this kind of connection with the bigger animals actually means for the people. And also different activities that foster the local culture and cultural heritage. Okay, but summing up a bit, so what is important, especially when we are thinking about integrating these regenerative tourism components or experience components within the products, keeping in mind that it all comes to the focus of the well-being outcomes. The well-being outcomes for the environment, the well-being outcomes for the individual, it can be the tourist, but also the well-being outcomes of the service provider and the local community. So trying to look the benefits and the positive impacts and more widely for the surrounding world and what it actually also means. I think this is quite important also in terms of when we are talking about nature-based tourism, especially when many of the tourism providers don't own necessarily the resources that are central for their own activities, but they are still very dependent on the destination attributes that are linked to that. So what is also the role of the tourism companies or tourist industry to supporting their operational in the environment in the destination, how their own tourism activities and products could support on that. This also includes the idea transformation, how to transform also the worldviews, values, attitudes, and behavior, also probably among the customers to make also tourism better in that way, and try to enhance or get the long-term or permanent change within the individuals. So quite often this is seen as more this kind of alternative to the so-called traditional way of understanding tourism and tourism activities that have been this very kind of consumptive approach in many destinations, unfortunately. Okay, but I think that I have now exceeded my time, so I thank you all. And feel free to get more insight of our Interact Our project and follow our advancements from the website. Thank you very much.